Venue for this weekend's action in the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo. We're heading towards the end of the championship season with the races at Sebring in America still to go as part of the World Finals weekend, where the first 2 days are given over to the championships being decided, the European, the North American and the Asian, and then there is the shootout between them for the World Final itself. And pole position for this race taken by the car of Daniel Zampieri and Roman Mavlanov, with Patrick Koyala, the championship leader, starting further back on the grid. He's going to start fourth in readiness for this first of two races of the weekend. The grid is being formed, the championship then looking as though it's going to deliver another cracking race to see what progress 6 times a race winner this year Patrick Koyala can make, with other race winners being one-time victor Alberto Di Falco, who inherited a win after a penalty was given to Koyala, and also Daniel Zampieri and Roman Mavlanov being winners in the pro category. So the drivers make their way round to the grid. And pole position for this race, Roman Mavlanov and Daniel Zampieri, the drivers who won last year's International GT Open Championship, and I think there was expectation that they were going to be the drivers to beat this year in the series, but they've had a few mechanical woes along the way, and the pace hasn't really been quite as good as anticipated. The one real shock has been Patrick Koyala, who was okay, but never an absolute star in single-seater racing, but he really has looked good this year in his first year of GT racing within the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo. And Koyala looking for a 7th victory of the season. He comes here with a 35-point advantage in the championship over Fabrizio Crestani, and Crestani sharing with Sergio Campana will start only 7th on the grid as we work our way down through the grid. One or two stragglers also look making their way into position. Slick tyres in use. We've had a bit of rain this morning, but it's dried out. The sun has broken through once again, and so now going into this race, all is looking good. Far cry from the last time Lamborghinis were racing here. There's a one-make championship when we had fog, we had rain, we had safety cars at this equivalent meeting last year, but the weather gods being a bit kinder at least now. This is how the championship looks. Patrick Koyala is the man who leads the title race, ahead within the Pro Cup of Roman Mavlanov and Daniel Zampieri. And then you've got Fabrizio Crestani and Sergio Campana next, with Kai Cozzolino and Shinya Michimi also looking good. This is the overall situation rather than just the pro standings, different classification across the overall compared to the classes because of the way the points are scored. But what we can guarantee is another lively race. There's the mandatory pit stop. The race itself is 50 minutes. Between 20 and 30 is the pit stop. Let's hear from some of the drivers then. Number 9, second on the grid, Eduardo Liberati, one of the drivers. He's on the grid with OJ Borg.
Eduardo, a fabulous position to be front row of the grid.
Yes, we're starting from the front row. Is always the best position to start with 40 cars on the grid. For sure, it will be a very exciting race. Let's hope for a clean race, for a clean start especially, and see how the weather will be, because it's a little bit cloudy, so it also will be an option.
Looking at you right now, you seem a little pensive, a little nervous. Is it nerve-wracking being on the front row, knowing there's more pressure on a good start?
Yes, sure. There's always more pressure to be in the front because you have something to lose. So let's see how it will go.
And this is the Nürburgring. There's always rain in the air here, even though the sun is out right now. Are you ready for it if the weather changes?
Yes, sure. We're ready, but we never tried this weekend, so it will be the same for everybody.
Eduardo, thank you.
Thank you.
Eduardo Liberati, for certain, when he gets into the car there, started by Patrick Niederhauser, will be one to watch, assuming, underlined, that the car is willing, because at Silverstone and at Spa, we saw that car with problems. And so we hope then that here, all is going to be good for it. So looking down onto the grid, everybody getting set, ready for what promises to be a very good race indeed, with Patrick Koyala having to make some progress up from 4th on the grid. So Roman Mavlanov will start the car on pole position. Alongside it is going to be Patrick Niederhauser to start. On the 2nd row of the grid will be Giacomo Bari, starting the car that he shares with Alberto Cerqui. And Patrick Koyala is the championship leader for this race, starting 4th He's with OJ on the grid.
Patrick, I was looking for you to interview you, and you're not on the front row of the grid for once.
Yeah, I had traffic in first qualifying, so yeah, I expected worse, but the second row is not that bad neither. Now we gotta start think about championship, score points this weekend, and yeah, we see how it goes.
We've seen you as an ultimate competitor. You love the rough and tumble of this race, and you definitely love winning it. Second row, are you excited about ploughing through this field?
Yeah, more excited than in the first row. This is gonna be an interesting race. So Zampieri was looking very strong in qualifying, also the Raton racing, so it's gonna be a good race.
And I know you believe in your own ability. You're going to win this one.
Like the other ones, yes.
Thank you, Patrick.
There's modesty for you. So Patrick Koyala is going to win the race. So we needn't have the next 50 minutes. We know what's going to happen. Patrick Koyala is going to have to work harder. He is right in saying that, because from fourth on the grid, this will be an interesting race. This will be a big fight. Patrick Koyala then starts fourth after traffic got in the way yesterday. But he certainly hit the ground running this year. Other teams, other drivers perhaps have taken a bit longer to get up to speed relative to him, but he's looking good, he's looking strong. This promises to be a cracking race. There is Patrick Niederhauser's car. Niederhauser himself, remember, is absolutely no slouch, and he's certainly a man to look for in this race. Eduardo Liberati we've heard from, but it's Niederhauser in the car. Ignore the graphic for the moment. There you can see the pole car, which is going to be Roman Mavronov to start, and his co-driver, Daniel Zampieri, is with OJ Borg.
We've just had to run off the grid because they're about to start the engines. Fabulous place being on pole.
Yeah, it's a good proposition for us. It's a second this year, so it's a good result. Yeah, especially preparing for the last race in Florida. That it is the best way to start this weekend.
Well, thank you very much. The whistle's gone. Good luck for the race.
Thank you. Bye.
Daniel Zampieri then heads to the pit lane, as does OJ Borg, ready to keep an eye on any pit stops if there's a change of weather, for example. And of course there is that mandatory pit stop window, so we'll keep you posted on that. OJ Borg in the pits, David Addison trackside for this penultimate weekend of the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo. And what a championship it has been. When you consider, what, 3-4 years ago, how modest an entry it was and how the championship has flourished. Nowadays there is Lamborghini Squadra Corsa that looks after the championship, which promotes it, which has a full-time dedicated team. Lamborghini's motorsport activities almost unrecognisable compared to what they were a few years ago. Far more professional a setup, far better run a championship, and this, which years ago was perhaps rightly or wrongly perceived as being a gentleman drivers championship, is now very much a career stepping stone if you want a GT future. Yes, it's still through the AM class, looks after the gentleman racer. It has this tremendous off-track hospitality structure where everyone goes and enjoys themselves on a Saturday evening, and the drivers getting ready for race one of the weekend for 50 minutes of racing, and we look forward to seeing whether Patrick Koyala is going to be able to score a win. If he does, he'll have worked hard for it, that's for sure. So looking further down, I think the grid is complete. Nobody, despite one or two people having strife in the qualifying session this morning, like Loris Spinelli, who was off the road and in the gravel. His car is on the grid. Calvin Snurks, number 2, the car that he shares with Mikko Eskilinen. That has a grid drop, a legacy of track limit abuse at Spa, so that's a bit further down the grid. It's slightly out of sequence, really, relative to where you might normally anticipate to find it. For this race, it will be Mikko Eskilinen who starts. It normally helps to put your slower driver in the car first and get that slower stint out of the way. And then if there's a safety car late race, you've got your quicker driver in, ready to benefit from all of that. But it's not how all the teams play it. Another car that's worth watching, as we've seen over the course of the year, will be number 16 of Shinya Michimi, but it's going to be Kai Cozzolino that goes first. Radical racer Jaap Bartels joins the championship this weekend in number 18, one of the Sospiri cars. He's going to be a man to look for as well. So the grid is now being cleared in a moment. Everybody's going to be released onto the warming up lap. A rolling start, 50 minutes of racing ahead. And it promises to be an intriguing battle at the head of the field. Another car that'll be worth keeping an eye to is Raffaele Giannoni and Gerhard Travasa, number 96, starting 10th on the grid, because Travasa, we know, is quick. And so the grid is formed. Everybody should, in a moment, be able to be released onto this warming up lap. Got battles in the Pro-Am and the AM categories, and then there's also the separate, albeit shrinking, Gallardo class for the older car. Rather than make them completely redundant, Lamborghini has kept, at least for this year, that class, so that those that don't have vast budgets to go and invest in new machinery can still have something to race for and still be competitive. So the Raging Bulls are blasting down towards turn 1, and just before we get the race underway, OJ Borg has caught up with the real dignitaries from Lamborghini. Let's head back to the pits and join him now.
Well, the Lamborghinis are roaring off the line right now. Stefan, it's always a great sound hearing them go off for a race.
Yes, it's a great sound. It's the last race in Europe before the World Final in November in Nürburgring in the US and Florida. So we're looking forward to a good race weekend. We hope that the weather holds, and yeah.
It's been a fantastic series, hasn't it? Especially all the rounds that have been in Europe.
Yes, we love them all because there's a lot of fight. We have the highest number of cars on the grid, even higher than in the US and in Asia. So it's really a huge success for us.
And Maurizio, this is your car. How great has it been watching them be so fast and so impressive on the track?
It's clear that to achieve a result like this is really fantastic for engineering, and to have all this car on the grid with the reliability that we have, and to know that this is the basis of the GT3 is really fantastic. It's a dream for every engineering.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it's a dream for the drivers as well, because they have got a fantastic piece of kit at their disposal. All of these built as race models for the championship. The road car is four-wheel drive, but these are rear-wheel drive race cars. Why would you possibly want four-wheel drive when you've got a right foot to control the power with these cars for the race championship? 5.2 litre engines, all of course on Pirelli tyres. And as they work their way down through the Dunlop curve, this is how the grid is going to look ready for race 1 of the weekend, with pole position going the way of Zampieri and Mavronov. It's going to be Mavronov to start alongside Niederhauser. Giacomo Bari lines up alongside Patrick Koyala. Alberto Di Folco is 5th, and alongside him is Loris Spinelli, with a new co-driver for the weekend in Alain Valente. Then it is Sergio Campana alongside Harold Schlegel. Milk ahead of Isaac Tutumlu, and Gerhard Travasa lines up alongside. Florian Spengler is next on the grid alongside Simone Pellegrinelli, who is one of the quickest of the AMs. In turn, he's ahead of Adrian Amstutz, and then it's Kai Cozzolino to start in number 16. Sebastian Merchan, the Ecuadorian, is in number 3. 99 is Mikhail Spidoronov to start. Then you get to Mark Inaichen alongside former historic racer Matteo Tullio. Cedric Lima, one of the mainstays of this championship for decades, it feels like, he's next on the grid alongside Jacopo Faccioni. Then comes Shota Abkazava, the charismatic Georgian, with Jürgen Krebs for company. Karina Lima starts next with the Portuguese Eugenio Montes lining up alongside. Then it's Ricardo Vera and Mikko Eskelinen, with Pampanini, Benvenuti, Neil Huggins, Tim Richards, Jan van Uytsel, then Christoph Lenz and Amir Krenzia completing the grid. 50 minutes we are about to have of racing. The cars turn their way down towards the final corner into the Coca-Cola curve. Alberto Di Folco carries the onboard camera. He is on the 3rd row of the grid. It's a very crowded house ahead of him as we get ready to go racing race 1 of 2 at the Nürburgring. The field works its way up towards the timing line. We get the signal from the starter that all is good, and so race 9 of the year in the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo is go. Good start being made then from Giacomo Bari. Also a decent getaway by Mavronov, and round the outside comes Koyala in the red and white car. Is he going to be able to grab the lead? No, he's not. Straight on there goes Giacomo Bari. He tries to wriggle his way back onto the road, out of all of which Di Folco and also Patrick Niederhauser have made the best run, because the 2 Raton Racing cars are 1st and 2nd. Through the Mercedes arena they come for the first time. A fabulous spectacle. Fantastic grid of cars. Up into 3rd place, look, has gone Loris Spinelli. And Koyala elbowed out wide. He's down to 5th. Alberto Di Folco then chases Patrick Niederhauser. Lap 1, 50 minutes of racing. Niederhauser leading the way. 2nd is Alberto Di Folco, race winner this year. And the cars work their way for the first time down towards the Dunlop curve. Patrick Koyala in the Bonaldi Motorsport car has left himself with a bit of work to do here as the cars accelerate their way downhill. So Koyala runs 5th, but a really good start by Loris Spinelli then. He was on the 3rd row, he's up to 3rd place. Challenge made lower down the order. That didn't quite pay off, as up the inside they tried to go 96, which was Gerhard Travasa. So Patrick Niederhauser's off recalcitrant car leads the way. 2nd is Alberto Di Folco. Rest of the field works its way through behind. Patrick Niederhauser leading the way then, the former Formula Abarth champion. He's raced in Formula Renault, he's raced in GP3, he's raced in sports cars, LMP2 at Le Mans, for example. He's trying to build that lead over Alberto Di Folco now, who runs in second spot as the cars power their way up to the Ad Vanbergen for the first time into the chicane for Raton Racing. They dreamt of this all year. It's a 1-2 at the moment for those cars as they head up through the chicane towards the Coca-Cola curve at the end of the opening lap. Still, Koyala is mired down in 5th place and he's not yet making the progress. Together run Giacomo Barri and also Roman Mavronov, who didn't make the best of getaways. It seemed good enough, but he lost out on the drag down to the first corner. It was Giacomo Barri who led briefly before he went skating on up the escape road. Battled lower down the order. Look, this is all very, very busy indeed. Mikko Eskilinen, number 2 on the outside line there, coming under attack, looking for a way past him on the inside line. Neil Huggins in the Gallardo, so Eskilinen's had a pretty ropey first lap there, trying to make progress. Neil Huggins in one of the older Gallardos, run by Warren Gilbert's Top Cats team. Down they head in towards turn 1, into the Mercedes arena, and the former Proton champion, Neil Huggins, keeping at bay for the moment. Number 12 there, which you can see, which is the car of Amir Krenzia. Leaders through towards us though. It's Niederhauser, Di Folco, then Spinelli 3rd, 4th is, at the moment, Sergio Campana, and then in 5th place, Patrick Koyala, 6th there, Giacomo Barri, 7th is Mavronov, who was on pole, 8th is Harold Schlegelmilch, 9th is currently Kai Cozzolino, and 10th is Isaac Tutumlu. Niederhauser trying to get away, and Patrick Koyala is still stuck behind Sergio Campana, who needs to take points off him within the championship here. They're climbing uphill, about to work their way now through the Schumacher-esque, use lots of curb in, lots of the flat curve on the way out as well. Speed building on the run up the next climb, heading towards the S, which brings you through the Bilstein curve. 33 cars on track, and there Giacomo Barri trying to shake off now the efforts of Roman Mavronov behind him. Giacomo Barri, along with his co-driver Alberto Cecchi, both part of Lamborghini's Young Driver programme, and Barri, a former Porsche racer, Italian GT racer, now again a very quick Lamborghini peddler. Behind him is Mavronov, ex-Formula Renault racer, reigning International GT Open champion, and has a rather sneaky look up the inside there of Giacomo Barri, but it comes to naught. Through they come, number 5, Roman Mavronov right on the back of Giacomo Barri, but the race leader has gone by. Patrick Niederhauser, 1.2 seconds now to the good over Alberto Di Folco. In 3rd it is still Loris Spinelli. And under braking, Koyala for 4th place makes the move. Does he make it stick because he runs out wide? He is going to make it stick, I think, yes. So through goes Koyala. Now, intriguingly, ahead of him, Spinelli has proved his worth this year in the championship, but his co-driver, looking ahead to the second stint, Alain Vallon, young French teenage racer who's done single-seaters, but none of this before. That's going to be a much more interesting state to find out how good he is first time out in one of these cars. So it could be that Koyala gains another place, if not in the first stint, certainly the second. Up front though, Niederhauser it is, leading the way. The gap 1.2 seconds last time around. And they work their way now up over the timing line. Now they're down the pit road with problems is Jürgen Krebs, I fear. Yes, it is. So the Sportec Motorsport car of Krebs and Siegfried Van Emer down the pit road. Problems for Jürgen Krebs as the leaders battle on. Now there Giacomo Barri keeping Mavronov at bay for the moment at any rate. And Mavronov makes the move this time, up on the inside line, job done, but he runs out wide over the runoff tarmac back onto the road. You could argue he's gained an advantage by that because he hasn't really been compromised too much by it. Now Giacomo Barri fights back and Mavronov moves right across on him. There's just about room. They touch mirrors. Through on the inside goes Giacomo Barri, or does he? Mavronov gets run out wide now. They're still together, but eventually it's Giacomo Barri who has to give way. And a very forceful Roman Mavronov keeps the place. Depending on your point of view, that was either very good defence or a bit risky, and he's still at it, drives Barri into the pit lane. That, I think, might have been one step too far up the inside to gain the place. Look, now comes Harold Schlegelmilch in the green car, the ex-Formula 3 racer. So Giacomo Barri not only given a big squeeze, but he's also lost a place to Harold Schlegelmilch. And now Schlegelmilch comes up to make a move against Mavronov. Good luck to him. Mavronov's got very, very sharp elbows, as you've just seen. So Schlegelmilch gets ahead of Giacomo Barri, and then Kai Cozzolino is next. So Mavlanov here, running in his current 6th place, may not have the speed. He's being warned about respecting the track limits. I would have thought driving standards for blocking was rather more the point, but anyway, track limits is what is being discussed. Have a look at this. This is the second one. He's already had one go at Giacomo Barri, but this just drives him into the pit lane, and over one of the white lines himself has gone Mavlanov, so just completely swerved across and chopped across on Giacomo Barri. The Antonelli Motorsport team runs Mavlanov's car. It is Autocarrozzeria Imperiale that runs Giacomo Barri's car. They, I fear, are not going to be quite as sanguine about life. Harold Schlegelmilch comes downhill up the inside of Giacomo Barri, goes Cozzolino. There's a big bit of contact there. You could see that coming, and also up the inside goes Isaac Tutumlu, so he gains a place as one of the multicoloured car. Giacomo Barri led into turn 1 oh so briefly, but he's now dropping like a stone. Florian Spengler's going to be the next one to come up and have a go at him. In fairness to Giacomo Barri, I think that move from Cozzolino was a bit brave. Through on the inside line there now goes Travasa to work his way up one further place. So Travasa in a big hurry as ever is the case. So he's managed to put himself up past Spengler, but you just get the feeling now that Giacomo Barri may be bound for the pits. The car's losing pace, and it's had a fair old whack in the side as well. At the end of this, the 4th lap, it should still be Patrick Niederhauser in the lead ahead of Alberto Di Folco. In 3rd place it is Spinelli, and then 4th is Patrick Koyala. If he is going to win this race, he is sort of taking his time about it. Spinelli, if anything, is closing on Di Folco now. That gap's come down a bit between them. Over the timing line goes Koyala in 4th, 5th is Campana, in 6th is Mavlanov, 7th is Schlegelmilch, 8th Cozzolino, 9th Tutumlu, 10th Travasa, and down to 11th is Giacomo Barri now. He has left Alberto Cecchi with a lot of work to do, even assuming the car is willing to do it, assuming it's 100% after the impact. There, off the road goes the Conrad car. Is that Marky Nikon who has got it wrong? Or is that Amir Krenzia? It's Krenzia, isn't it? Sorry, apologies to Nikon. It's Amir Krenzia, who's up the inside of Tutumlu. Goes Gerhard Travasa, but the green and yellow car of Tutumlu fights back. Travasa's on another mission, though. Experienced Lamborghini racer in GTs in 1 make category. On the outside line is Travasa in the white car, swoops around the outside, place gained. Giacomo Barri tries to buy into it, and he runs out of road, up the curb, onto the grass. You know when it's not your day, it is not the day for Giacomo Barri, I'm afraid to say. He's struggling as everybody watches on. Heading downhill, the race leaders, and there, a tap in the tail for Schlegelmilch. Cozzolino seems to arrive at that corner far quicker than anybody else. A lap ago, it was where he rather rudely shoulder-barged his way past Giacomo Barri. This time there's a tap in the back for Harold Schlegelmilch. This is a replay of how we had the spin a lap back, and it was Amir Krenzia being assaulted by Neil Huggins, really, that turned him around. This year, the redoubtable Franz Conrad running the operation, and already talking about joining the Blancpain Endurance Series for next year, wanting to get back into endurance racing. In recent times, Conrad's squad has specialised in Porsches, but it will be good to have the Austrian team on the Blancpain grid, that's for sure. The leaders go by, Niederhauser 4 seconds to the good. Cozzolino here, still trying to find a way up through traffic. The contact between Huggins and Krenzia is under investigation. So 4.4 seconds now between the leaders. Spinelli runs 3rd, Koyala is 4th, 5th is Sergio Campana, and then in 6th place Roman Mavlanov is there, turning his way out of the first corner in the all-blue car, Simone Pellegrinelli, who at the moment is down in 4th in his class, looking to try to gain ground here. Cedric Leimer is the man behind him. Amstutz new to the championship this year. Leimer a mainstay of Lamborghini categories. Out of turn 6 goes Isaac Tutumlu then. The Spanish driver sets off downhill. The Spaniard of Kurdish descent, father a football agent. And Tutumlu, an experienced driver from GTs to the World Touring Car Championship. He's raced in the Midjet Series, and now trying to get himself back onto terms with Gerhard Travasa. But up front, look at the way that Patrick Niederhauser is getting away from Alberto Di Folco, who in turn is being chased hard by Loris Spinelli. This is the onboard view with Alberto Di Folco as he works his way out of the Bilstein curve. The Ad van Bogen is the next right-hander. Speed building all the time. Down the pit road, though, comes Amir Krenzia. As he does that, the officials have said there's no further action on the contact between him and Neil Huggins. So Franz Conrad's team comes to assess the damage. The leaders work their way up through the chicane, then the Coca-Cola curve, second, third and fourth rather look like they're concertinaing up a bit now, because there is Alberto Di Folco, and he's being caught a touch by Loris Spinelli, who in turn is being caught now by the car in the hands of Patrick Kujala. So Kujala is certainly not out of the mix, even though he's not gone storming up through the order. Fifth is Campana, sixth is Mavlanov. There's still a lot that's going to shake out of this race as Di Folco, under menacing clouds, works his way through the Mercedes arena. The race leader, Patrick Niederhauser, continues to get away. 4.5 seconds to the good he is now over teammate Alberto Di Folco. And in a sense, we've kind of expected this all year from Niederhauser, but he's never really had the pace and or the reliability. Kujala, for a change, is the man having to play catch-up. He was looking forward to a big battle. Well, he's not really made the progress as yet. Started fourth, lost out a bit, but he's still down in fourth position. And have a look at how here Giacomo Barri made his lunge up the inside. Have a look also at Alberto Di Folco, fifth on the grid in the second of the gold cars, and he was on the inside line. Everybody else had to worry about what Giacomo Barri was up to, and the road just opened up for him. So Giacomo Barri from first to sixth in one easy move, and then life got worse for him. Di Folco up the inside and into second place. The elephant in the room is the retirement of Amir Krenzia. Out he gets, Franz Conrad there with the grey hair to go and talk to him and assess the damage to the rear of the car where he was knocked into that spin by Neil Huggins. We are not that far now, of course, off the pit window opening. 36 minutes of the race remain, and it's between 20 and 30 minutes of the 50 that the window will open. So very shortly, pit window will be open for the slower drivers to bail first. There, number 5, Roman Mavlanov, will be an early pitter, I would have thought, to give Daniel Zampieri the chance to get behind the wheel. The leader, Patrick Niederhauser, goes through with an advantage now over Alberto Di Folco of 4.7 seconds. 26, Sergio Campana, still being chased by Mavlanov as they work their way over the timing line. Past the pits they go, down once more towards the Mercedes arena. This is the battle for 5th place. Campana ahead of Mavlanov. Wide goes Campana. Mavlanov tries to get up the inside. Wide in, tight out for turn 2 into turn 3 is going to be the answer. Is it going to work? Let's see. Sergio Campana, the former Italian Formula 3 champion, hanging onto the place. But Roman Mavlanov right there behind him. Campana, a relative newcomer to the likes of a GT class like this. Mavlanov knows a bit more about how to race a GT car, but Campana is not short on overall racecraft, that is for sure. Campana, or Bell if you translate it from the Italian, is hanging on to the place. But right there behind him is Mavlanov as they work their way downhill again. Through the Dunlop curve. Now, they're not that far, seemingly, behind a back marker, which gets out of the way. So the traffic not an issue as they power their way uphill. But again, Mavlanov working the car so hard, using all the curves then, sprints on towards the Bilstein curve. Hard on the brakes, goes 26, then Campana in 5th place, turning his way now through the right at the Bilstein curve and back onto the power. Still being pursued by Mavlanov, but there's barely anything to choose between the two. Mavlanov's car, qualified by Zampieri, started on pole. And the field now turning its way once more downhill. Mavlanov closing right up into the chicane, but he can't find a way by there, and so as the leaders head over the timing line, with 34 minutes just under still to go, Mavlanov again has a look on the inside. This probably his best chance yet. A good exit from this corner and a good run down towards turn 1 might just do the trick for him. Nose to tail, into the braking zone once more. Still Mavlanov can't find a way by, but he's slightly tighter to the line out of turn 1. Campana sticks out his elbows. Bear in mind, here's Roman Mavronov, less experienced driver, perhaps considered not as good, and a drama with Travasa and Schlegelmilch down at the last corner. Schlegelmilch gets away, but to go back to the point about Mavronov, by reputation, you perhaps think that some of his results have been gained by Zampieri, but here he is taking the battle of somebody who's had a very good single-seater racing pedigree. The battle for 5th place is well and truly on, and Campana is ahead of Mavronov. Now, we'll piece together what happened between Schlegelmilch and Travasa in a moment, I'm sure, as well, but certainly Schlegelmilch has got going. Travasa, I think, has also rejoined the fray now, but a long way back. Downhill comes Campana, still keeping Roman Mavronov behind him as they work their way through the right-hander. And then there's the sprint uphill. Getting a replay here of another sort-out. Giacomo Barri again with, was that Kai Cozzolino again? I think it was. Poor old Giacomo Barri even further down the order now. The incident between Schlegelmilch and Travasa is under investigation. We haven't yet seen who did what to which and to whom. We've just seen the replay of Barri and Cozzolino. Kai Cozzolino up into 8th place now. Forcefully, it would appear. So there, still 5th, Sergio Campana makes his way up towards the chicane, closing a little bit under braking and having a tentative look up the inside is Roman Mavronov, but that isn't an option either. That doesn't work for him. The leaders over the timing line. The pit window should be open, I would have thought, certainly for some at the end of this lap, maybe not for the leader, but for the midfielders and the tail enders. The pit stops will start at the end of the lap. They're just starting now. Down towards the Yokohama S then, goes in 26, Sergio Campana. Mavronov still there behind him. So the cars now accelerate down towards turn 4, out of which comes Campana. And the advantage he's got over Mavronov, only a couple of lengths at best. Mavronov staying on the back of him, but he's not really yet been able to have a proper push for position here. Downhill once again, Campana, while he's having to think about defending like this, is losing touch with Patrick Kujala ahead of him. Now Kujala 4th is 8.3 seconds behind Patrick Niederhauser, so can Eduardo Liberati in the second stint maintain an advantage of 8 seconds, irrespective of the traffic between them, because of course it's 1st and 4th at the moment, Niederhauser and Kujala, but there's also that time to factor in as well. Now there, down the pit lane, comes Harold Schlegelmilch. The pit window is not yet open, so the car, having been involved with Gerhard Travasa earlier on, heads down the pit road. Meantime, Alberto Di Folco still being caught by Spinelli, who has got Patrick Kujala right up behind him. If this all does develop into a proper battle, it's going to help Niederhauser even further. They missed the pit lane opening look because they are working their way into the Coca-Cola curve as the pit window is open now. Who's going to be the first one in? It is Roman Mavronov. Not unexpected that, to give way to the quicker Daniel Zampieri. Anybody else to come in? Let's see, Isaac Tutumlu, who shares with the Finn Jesse Antela, comes out of the chicane. He stays out. Giacomo Barri may well come in, just so people don't keep driving into him. He might call it a day early. There's been a car over the dirt in the background, which now heads for the pit road as well. So Mavronov has come in, and there, look, down the pit road is the next. We'll break the timing beam at pit in and confirm, I think it's Cedric Lima, yes it is, that's come in as well. Now Schlegelmilch was in before the window, but perhaps they just kept the car there to do the work. Now the window is open. A slight miscalculation on the time. Mikko Eskilinen, I think, has come in also. And the pit stops cycling through. So there, Daniel Zampieri ready to go. Also down the pit lane, Giacomo Barri, Jacopo Faccioni and Matteo Tullio. So quite a few coming in early. Not surprised about Giacomo Barri, he's probably had enough of this race. So there is the race leader, Patrick Niederhauser, who now, with people having stopped and rejoining out of position, as it were, he's got to treat as back markers and cycle through. Mikko Eskilinen's car there is indeed in to give way to the quicker Kelvin Snooks. Through the traffic comes Patrick Niederhauser. Is he going to be a picked caller at the end of this lap? The team ideally doesn't want two cars in on the same lap and get distracted, so Niederhauser stays out, avoids pit in. He's probably a fraction quicker than Edoardo Liberati, so it's worth him staying out there and building the lead. Alberto Di Falco, though, has got them queuing up behind him now. Look, Loris Spinelli, then Patrick Kujala right there behind as they work their way into the Coca-Cola curve. Leader over the line. The two gold cars are those first and second. Ignore the back marker between them, which is the car of Krebs and Van Ema back into the race. Through goes Niederhauser, through goes Di Falco. 7.7 seconds now is the margin. In third place still is Spinelli. Fourth is Kujala, 8.8 seconds back on the race leader. And Kujala just can't get through the traffic, can he? He's close, but he's never been able to find a way past Spinelli, and he can't do as yet anything therefore about Di Falco. The exodus from the pit lane, look. People go pouring out en masse. In has come Campana, and off the road goes Di Falco. Change for second place. Spinelli gets up one side of him, and here comes Kujala on the inside for third. Alberto Di Falco makes a mistake, and that has gone against him. He's gone in one fell swoop from second to fourth, and that has been the lifeline that Spinelli and Kujala have been waiting for lap after lap, and finally a mistake is made, and they've gained places. Finally, it's come their way. Through the right-hander at the Dunlop curve they come, and now the sprint uphill, heading once more towards the Schumacher S's. Di Falco lifts, drops down a gear, back on the power, use all of that curve on the exit over the brow, and then the next left-right sequence brings you to the Bilstein curve into turn 10. The road drops downhill, climbs through the Ad Van Bogen, and then towards the chicane, out of which Patrick Niederhauser comes as the race leader. Does he stay out, or does he bail for the pit lane? Looks like he's staying out. So the gold car of Raton Racing leading the way. The sister car now down in fourth place after Alberto Di Falco's moment. Does Di Falco? Yes, he does come in this time. Alberto Di Falco is in. Down the pit lane then comes number 90. Di Falco was second. He got mugged down at fourth after his little mistake, and in he comes. Now Di Falco is a soloist, so he stays behind the wheel, doesn't have to get out. He can just sit there until the regulation time expires. Alberto Di Falco then lets the team check tyre pressures and, more importantly, calculate when to release him so that he leaves pit exit with a minimal time lost over the minute's pit stop. There is number 9, which is the sister car in the hands of Patrick Niederhauser. Edoardo Liberati will take it over. Di Falco is ready, but the team still holds him. Engine is running. Revs rise, revs fall, revs rise. So the team, in a moment, will wave him away. Who else has been in this time? We've had Kai Cozzolino in, number 16. We've also got Florian Spengler in. Simone Pellegrinelli is in. Adrian Amstutz is in. So the top 10 now is going to be rather shuffled. Patrick Niederhauser stays out, though, for the moment. And now the gap that has opened up, even though Di Falco has pitted and got out of the way after his moment, the gap that's opened up between Niederhauser and Kujala is 10 seconds. It was hovering around the 8.8. It's gone up even further. The second stint for Kujala could be his biggest test of the season. He's lost one win with a penalty, one possible win with a punctured tyre. This could be a real fight that he's got to look forward to. The leader, Patrick Niederhauser, stays out once more, avoids pit in. There is Spinelli, possibly now holding up Kujala. Does Kujala bail for the Bonaldi Motorsport team? Yes, he does. Also in behind, look, comes Jürgen Krebs, who'd lost a lap anyway from an earlier pit stop. The white line there at the 60k board is the official pit in. Well, that's where the timing beam starts to calculate the pit stop from, and so Kujala is in. So it's a minute stop, which includes the pit stop time for a driver change. If you're not doing a driver change, you just stay in the car, but it is a regulation time, pit in to pit out. It's not like in the Blancpain Endurance Series where it's what you might call a live pit stop as quick as you can. Here it's all done to a time. So pit in to pit out is a regulation time. If you are under it, then there is a drive-through penalty or a stop-go, depending on how far under it you were. If you're over, well, it's a self-imposed penalty. And it's being over that can sometimes win or lose the race. Patrick Kiala then into the pit lane. Alberto Di Folco here will try to get the place back. So can he come through as the leader is in? Patrick Niederhauser is into the pit lane as well. Can Di Folco get over the timing line and reclaim the place of Patrick Kiala? A brake fire for Patrick Kiala. Nobody seems very interested in it, but a brake fire, this could be very bad news. Now the marshals and the mechanics are there. It's not hugely serious, I wouldn't have thought, as long as it's extinguished pretty quickly. Indeed, the car sets off, and that'll put the blaze out itself. So Kiala back into the race, but a brake fire suggesting that maybe brakes are going to be an issue in this second stint. How much braking capability will he have? Here comes Kiala down the pit lane exit, and Alberto Di Folco is with him, but he's not going to get ahead. So Kiala keeps the place then. It was close. Alberto Di Folco is closer, certainly, than he was when they came in. But Patrick Kiala maintains track position ahead of Alberto Di Folco. The next wave of cars comes down the pit road now. Overtaking in the pit lane, that's just about legit because they hadn't quite got to the white line. The Gallardo of Neil Huggins was the one being overtaken. So Patrick Niederhauser down the pit road. Also in is Spinelli, out of what was second place. So now, where will this car of Liberati rejoin relative to Patrick Kiala, who has just served his stop? Alberto Di Folco then behind Kiala, but he's staying with him as well. This could be quite interesting because Alberto Di Folco's pace has got better and better as the year has gone on. We're almost at the end of the window. There's only one car, I think. Oh no, he's up to Tumulu, he's in now. I'm going to say there's only one car that's not made a stop, but he's in now. He's up to Tumulu to give way to Jesse Antela. And so here is a fight for position, but which position it will be rather depends on how swift a stop it is for this car. Patrick Niederhauser has given way to Edoardo Liberati. They've had over a month's break since they were at Spa, where again the car had mechanical woes. All is well here, seemingly. And Liberati is on his way down the pit lane. Remember, the margin was 10 seconds over Kiala before the Finn Patrick Kiala had to pit. Niederhauser's lead then to be maintained by Liberati. Question mark. He's back on track. It's really the length of the pit straight, so the gap will have in true terms at the end of the next lap. Out on circuit goes now Liberati. Through goes Kiala. So Edoardo Liberati it is who leads the way. Now, where did Alain Vallon slot back in the number 15 entry? There, with a problem in the pit lane, is one of the Bonaldi cars by the look of it. And that is Florian Spengler. And Liberati has got a problem. The race leader has got, yet again, a mechanical problem. So many times this year we've seen that car with problems mechanically, and it's happened again after a dominant display. Niederhauser head in hands, cannot believe it. Di Folco's car seems to get away with it, but every time there's a mechanical problem, it goes the way of Patrick Niederhauser's car, and you can understand why he is so dejected. Yet again, something within the Raton Racing car affect only this one. For the third race meeting, it happened at Silverstone, it happened at Spa, it's happened here as well. And Patrick Niederhauser can't look at the screens, doesn't want to talk to anybody, understandably. After all of that hard work, the race has just been gifted to Patrick Kiala. On his outlap, 2 corners into the stint, something goes wrong for Edoardo Liberati. Incredible, absolutely amazing that it seems to happen only to that car. And so, Kiala it is, effectively now the man to watch for the win. Alberto Di Folco shadowing him. Why is this car the healthier of the two at Raton Racing? just into the pit lane, incidentally, has come Marky Nyken, but I think that's happened after the pit window was closed. It is, however, a second stop, so yes, he's done his regulation pit stop, so into the pits, Marky Nyken with a problem. While I'm looking at that, you're looking at Alberto Di Folco working his way through turn 1. Patrick Niederhauser has at least been persuaded to talk to OJ Borg. Let's find out what the problems are.
Patrick, I know now isn't the time to talk to you. Do you know what's happened to the car?
Well, not exactly. It looks like the drive shaft is broken. It's only what we think from here. Yeah, I'm out of work.
It was an amazing stint by you, and I feel terrible for asking you this question, but how do you feel right now knowing you were in the lead of this race?
I don't know. It's difficult to describe the feelings. Like, yeah, you jump out of the car, you know you have done a great job. I really wanted to win this race. We needed to win. I felt just great. The car was really good, and then yeah, something like this happens. It's just really disappointing.
Well, listen, thank you very much for your time. Bad luck.
Thank you very much.
Patrick Niederhauser deserves far better than he has been given in the championship this year. Whether you can suggest that it's an aggressive pit lane departure from Edoardo Liberati, well, you see the other car has the same driver in it all the way through, so Di Folco is able to be mindful of the machinery. Liberati perhaps a bit gung-ho. Now we've got a number of cars in the investigation column for speeding in the pit lane, one of which is the Gallardo of Jan van Uytzel. Also being investigated significantly is Loris Spinelli, and also number 9, well, little good will it do now, Liberati and Niederhauser's car under investigation for speeding in the pit lane, but that's just limped into the pits, ready to retire. But the significant one could be Spinelli. But that has been not a great return to the track as far as Alain Vallon is concerned, because a car that was running in second place before the pit stops now, third place before the pit stops, is now down into 5th. So Patrick Koyala leads the way, second is Alberto Di Folco, and in has come Edoardo Liberati with Patrick Niederhauser so dejected it's just not true. But Raton Racing with more than just this mechanical issue this year, surely you would have thought would have an answer by now, but there's big problems for that car. So if it can go back out, it's only really as far as a test session is concerned. And so Patrick Koyala is set for seemingly yet another win. That car has just copped a drive-through. Alain Vallon will get a drive-through penalty, and 24 also, which is the Jan van Uytzel Gallardo. So drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So Patrick Koyala leads Alberto Di Folco. Third is Daniel Zampieri. Now Zampieri is only 3 seconds back from Koyala and lapping quicker. We could yet be on here for a battle. It rather depends how long it takes Zampieri to get through traffic. '15 is Alain Vallon, who is about to be penalised. There is Simone Pellegrinelli, who will inherit the lead of the class, the Pro-Am class, now that Vallon has to serve a drive-through. So there's still quite a bit more that can shake out of this race. Pellegrinelli, former motorbike racer, was the winner of the AM class last year, steps up to Pro-Am, having been very good last year, and continues the good form. Marky Nyken, incidentally, just made a third pit stop in the Conrad car, so there's big problems for him, as there is 99, which is Mikhail Spidoronov. Now Roberto Silva has taken that car over. And that, a fair way down the order now. Worked its way through the Schumacher S. It is in 13th overall, but leading the AM category. So Roberto Silva, as the co-driver, doing a good job. Down the pit road now comes Alain Vallon. So the young Frenchman, young Swiss driver, I should say, serves the penalty. So 6th when he came in. How many places is that going to lose him? There is, for one, Shinya Michimi that will want to get by. And back on track then now has gone. Alain Vallon just ahead there of the battle between Sebastian Merchant and Adrian Amstutz. So that means 8th is where Vallon is after Loris Spinelli's good efforts early on. Now, number 10, you can see the Conrad car of Adrian Amstutz potentially to fall away a little bit in that battle pack, but as the race now has got just under 13 minutes to go, Patrick Koyala once again looking as though the win is going to be his. There's nobody around him to really threaten at the moment. Now for second place though, Zampieri up on the back of De Falco, and if he gets stuck there for a long time, he's going to lose the chance of getting up the road after Koyala. This is important that Zampieri makes the move and makes it quick, otherwise the gap would have grown too much. In towards the Coca-Cola curve. Can he make a move on the inside here? The answer seemingly is no. Turning his way out of the right-hander at the Coca-Cola curve. So Koyala now can build a 2.5 second gap first to third, because look, Zampieri is stuck behind De Falco and he can't actually run that close either. Now we know that De Falco has made one little mistake in this race. He might make a second yet, you never know. If he does, that will really help Zampieri, but for the moment, Daniel Zampieri not quite able to get up past him. Through the Mercedes arena they work, 12 more minutes on the clock and 0.4 of a second between them when they came onto this lap. And the next one down the pit road is 24, which is another of the penalised cars, Jan van Uytsel, for speeding in the pit lane earlier on. So he makes his way down the pit road and will fall down the order accordingly, but Van Uytsel from that loses the possibility of a decent result within the Gallardo class, in which he was looking pretty strong earlier. So we have currently Patrick Koyala leading by 2.1 seconds. This battle for second place still going the way of Alberto De Falco, keeping Daniel Zampieri at bay, and for as long as he's stuck there, so Zampieri is losing out all the while to the race leader. So as they work their way up the hill, Koyala building that gap all the while. Now in traffic. This possibly is an opportunity for Zampieri. He needs to strike if he possibly can. Out of the Bilstein curve they come. Back marker gets out of the way. Zampieri really throwing everything at this, now running up wide onto the curbs. And the field accelerating its way once more down towards the Ad Van Bogen. Now they run up towards the chicane, and as they do so, the gap between them at the start of the lap, 0.4 of a second, down a bit in the middle sector, but it had gone up a little bit in the first. Off the road, Tim Richards in the gravel. So one of the AMs in the Gallardo, in the Huracan section, I should say, the Toro Loco car has gone off the road in a rather unusual place. He's got that wrong coming out of turn 5. In the gravel. Now, is that easily removable, or is that going to be a safety car? Let's see. Safety car would rather help De Falco, and it would also help Zampieri. Wouldn't do much for Koyala, I'm afraid to say. And so now, as the field works its way into a yellow flag zone, 10 minutes on the clock still. Alberto De Falco trying to make his way through the traffic, and in fact last time around first to third had come down, so Koyala still having to be mindful of what's going on behind him. Now it's a long lap, of course. This modern F1 venues have all the extra runoff areas, but also the vehicle access point, so it's hopeful that they can easily move that car of Tim Richards without having to interrupt the flow of the race, particularly. Through the right-hander at the Dunlop curve they come. Still no suggestion of a safety car. The yellow flags within that sector, that around that corner, still prevalent. Roman Mavlanov then having given way to Daniel Zampieri, and Zampieri doing his best to make up for some of the lost ground from Mavlanov's stint. Through they come, up towards the Ad Van Bogen once again. This lap number 20, 8 3/4 minutes to go. There, the snatch vehicle arrives to try and pull Tim Richards' car out of harm's way. And as it does so, the race leaders continue All chasing Patrick Koyala, but the lead he's got is not a massive one. Alberto De Falco's last lap was quicker. Now, was that just down to traffic? Here they come up over the timing line. The second and a half, staying round about the same, but you still get the feeling that Zampieri there in third place will be able to get by and catch up. There, 28, Tim Richards rejoins. So he's been pulled out of the gravel and allowed back on track. Through the Mercedes arena comes Zampieri now, the challenge for the inside, but again Alberto De Falco saw it coming, moves across, able to defend. Up the inside again, tries to go Zampieri, forces a mistake, does he out of De Falco, who goes wide. Zampieri up alongside him, and he's on the outside line for the next corner. Through turn 4, De Falco gets the place back again. Zampieri did everything he possibly could through the Mercedes arena. De Falco defending pretty resolutely here, and Zampieri still trying to force a mistake out of him. This is absolutely ideal for Koyala. For as long as they're squabbling, he's under no threat. Downhill they had once again. The two of them, second and third, with at the moment Alberto De Falco hanging on to that place. They climb uphill, side by side. Zampieri with a tighter line, but he didn't get the drive out of the corner. Alberto De Falco quicker on exit, and so Zampieri doesn't seem to have the grunt to be able to do it powering out of a corner. It's got to be on the brakes coming into a corner. De Falco here having to defend like crazy as they work their way now into the Bilstein curve. Daniel Zampieri running out of chances now, not only to get past De Falco for second place, but then to go after the race leader, because Patrick Koyala still leads the way. Gap extending, time running out. Up the inside goes Zampieri. He's done it this time. I think he commits. Yes, finally. Very brave stuff that from a little bit hesitant. He eventually did commit, went up the inside, makes the move, got it all slowed down. No contact either, which is good to see. And so Daniel Zampieri goes second. Is that enough time left in the race to go after the leader? It's 3.6 seconds. The gap's virtually doubled over the timing line. Zampieri now is a man on a mission. He's got to throw everything at this. Patrick Koyala looked a little bit average almost by his high standards in the first stint, but with penalties, pit stop problems and their mechanical maladies, so he's in the box seat now. He leads the way. In second spot is Koyala, sorry, I'll tell you a lie, Zampieri, but for the leader, Koyala, there is traffic up the road ahead. If he doesn't get through it quickly, that's going to help Daniel Zampieri get back onto terms with him. Koyala through the back markers, so he may have lost a fraction of time, but of course anything he's lost, so Zampieri has got to get past them as well. It may well balance out. 5.5 minutes to go. The end of the first very long sector, which is almost a minute in length, is round about here, coming down towards the Dunlop curve, and in the first sector the gap has come down by a second, so that I think is down to the traffic as much as it's down to Zampieri pushing as hard as he can. Now we'll see, because Zampieri's got to get himself through those back markers, whereas for Koyala the road is clear. Towards the Bilstein curve they come. Number 5 is Daniel Zampieri. Gets up alongside 22 there to put a lap on the slower car, which he does easily, works his way by. So that puts him now past the car of Sergio Montes. The Portuguese driver slots back in behind. And now through the second of oh, contact! Zampieri up the inside of 77 there to try and go ahead of Matteo Tullio, but contact between them. They don't go off the road. Nobody really suffers as far as I can see, but Zampieri rubs up against the former historic racer. Up towards the timing line. Zampieri with 4 minutes on the clock chases Patrick Koyala. The gap is 3.6 seconds, so that lap fractionally quicker by Zampieri, but what they gained on traffic, they both lost on traffic, if you're with me. Down towards turn 1 into the Mercedes arena. Now comes Patrick Koyala. Zampieri, as ever, throwing everything at this, but I fear it's a bit too late for him. By the time he got himself up through the traffic, now to a clear road, there's not enough of the race left, but Koyala, once again, having a charmed life, you could argue. The biggest losers yet again, poor old Eduardo Liberati and Patrick Niederhauser after that amazing first stint, just to have it taken away by a potential drive shaft break on the outlap in the second stint. Daniel Zampieri always spectacular to watch, trying as hard as he possibly can, the car moving around all the time as he wrings everything out of it. But now, drivers at this level, we're talking tenths, if that, between them, rather than anything more significant. And in fact, Koyala has pulled away by 4 tenths, pulled away in the first sector. So 3 more minutes on the clock. There's time enough for certainly 1 more lap at the end of this. Over the brow comes Daniel Zampieri. Patrick Koyala, the race leader, now left to control the pace up front. Working his way towards the chicane, up towards the end of the lap. Koyala will first go through the Ad Van Bogen, gets past Tim Richards. And so the Bonaldi Motorsport car that has had such a good season, 1 puncture and 1 driver error to create a penalty for Patrick Koyala aside, he's been virtually invincible. But every race he's proved he's got the speed, and once again, despite the best efforts of the opposition, he's on target for a win. He's going to get 2 more laps out of this. Through he comes. The blue flag wave to the back marker, which is Andrea Palmer, who gets to one side. Experienced driver, former race winner outright, Andrea Palmer, now a gun for hire in the AM Gallardo class, and he lets the leader go through. So 3.4 seconds. Koyala to Zampieri, this and 1 more in terms of time left on the clock. And Daniel Zampieri 3.4 seconds back. His last lap was fractionally quicker, but again, it's only by a little bit, so there's nothing significant enough to bring him onto the back of Koyala unless Patrick were to make a mistake. And you've got to say, in these cars, he never makes them, or rarely makes them. I think 1 we can account for all year, but he was a little bit more hot-headed in his GP3 days, but in these cars, looks very, very strong indeed. So Patrick Koyala powering his way downhill. 90 seconds on the clock, but they will squeeze 1 more lap out of this. As down towards the Dunlop curve yet again comes Daniel Zampieri. For a number of seasons, he was a Kessel Racing Ferrari race winner indeed in the Pro Cup. Came here 1 year fighting for the outright crown, but without Kessel having a top-line car in the championship these days, he's had to go and find employment where he can, and that's been with Roman Mavlanov, last year winning the ICTO Series, the International GT Open, this year racing in this category, as Simone Pellegrinelli, the leading Pro-Am, works his way now up towards the exit of turn 4. As he does so, he is clear of the class opposition. Patrick Koyala's advantage going on to this lap was 3.4 seconds. And it's all looking very strong indeed for him. The 4 classes across the course of the championship: Pro, Pro-Am, Am, and then the Ams from the Gallardo section. Race leaders come towards the start of the last lap as the clock ticks away. So 3.3 the margin. It's come down a little, but again, not enough to really worry the race leader, Patrick Koyala, who is on target for yet another victory. He's on target for a 7th win of the year. Patrick Koyala then works his way down through turn 3, back on the power. Flag this time. Koyala leading Zampieri in the gravel, and out of the race is Sergio Montes, the Portuguese driver, off at the last corner of the penultimate lap. Now, can he get going again from there? We will see, as 32, powering his way to the flag, is Patrick Koyala. It's going to be a yellow flag zone, come what may, isn't it? Which is going to have an effect if anybody did feel about making a move for position right at the very end. The yellow flags wave. So for Patrick Koyala, he will go to a yellow flag zone at the end of the lap, but more importantly, a checkered flag zone coming out of that, because it's going to be win number 7 for the Finn. Started 4th on the grid, makes his way now up towards the Bilstein curve as he comes through that section. The checkered flag is being made ready, and for Patrick Koyala, honours are heading his way. The checkered flag's at the ready. A 7th win of the championship season is his for the taking, and with it, an increased margin now in the title race. Koyala works his way up towards the Coca-Cola curve in the background. Daniel Zampieri has brought down the gap a little, but not by enough to ever threaten. And so a 7th win of the year goes to Patrick Koyala, who comes across the line to win the race. Second, Daniel Zampieri for Roman Mavlanov, and then Alberto Di Folco, who, having lost second place, fell a long way back at the end, should be on for third. But where is he? Because he's not yet come by. Now he does. What was going on there? That was a very slow last lap by Alberto Di Folco. Fourth, not that far behind him at the end, was 26, Fabrizio Crestani, having taken over from Sergio Campana. In 5th place, it should be the car of Jesse Antila and Isaac Tutumnu. Yes, it is. They're the yellow and green car. And 6th, just over the timing line, securing the place, number 16, Shinya Michimi, having taken over from Kai Cozzolino. But 7th is this car, which will win Pro-Am. Number 31 is that of Simone Pellegrinelli. Pellegrinelli up towards the timing line for class honours, just ahead, crossing the line to win in the Gallardo Am section is Anders Josefsson, as now Pellegrinelli comes through to score a 2nd win of the year. Nobody has won more than twice in Pro-Am. Pellegrinelli now joins that list of double winners. And in the Gallardo Am class, Ricardo Vera and Anders Josefsson are the winners. There is Kelvin Snurks heading up towards the line, number 2. Now, as Snurks lost out on the last lap, Milos Pavlovic, yes, has gone ahead of him, but I fear that may have been near that yellow flag zone, so might be a question mark over that. But Pavlovic 12th in the end, Snurks ending up in 13th place. 99 is going to win the amateur class. This is Roberto Silva, having taken over the car from Mikhail Spidoronov. And so Spidoronov victorious ahead of Shota Abkazava, and then for 3rd in the AMs among the Gallardos it should be the Bartels Jacopo Faccioni car that Faccioni started, and Bartels these days one of the pace setters in the Radical European Masters series will bring home. So Alberto Di Folco there 3rd, and in the end 14 seconds back from the race leader. Why he lost all the time I'm a bit mystified about, because he was looking very, very strong only until, what, 4 or 5 laps from home when he got mugged by Zampieri, and then it seemed as though all the fight went out of him and he just fell away. So the cars worked their way round towards the pit lane. Some will head, of course, to Parc Fermé. Already back is Daniel Zampieri, whose in-lap was as quick as one of his race laps. He was certainly not hanging around. So the field pouring down the pit road. And Patrick Koyala's win, another good one. Alberto Di Folco's car there being stopped for podium, but Zampieri's was allowed to go straight through the garage into Parc Fermé, so not quite sure why that was allowed. Anyway, the race officials will try and orchestrate everything as they need it. And Alberto Di Folco congratulates the Raton Racing team, who still must be very, very disappointed that the other car, when it was leading, broke in the hands of Eduardo Liberati on his outlap. So everybody else pours down the pit lane. Every car that comes in sets off the pit lane siren that you can hear in the background. Patrick Koyala is about to evacuate the car. Well, he promised O.J. Borg on the grid he was going to win the race. And he comes good, yet again. So Patrick Koyala scores the victory. The winning margin just 2.3 seconds. Didn't lead at all in the first stint, but was ideally placed after the pit stops, put himself in the box seat. And so Patrick Koyala victorious. He will make his way in a moment up to the podium, but I think first there are celebrations, because the Bonaldi Motorsport team, which for a number of seasons now has been one of, if not the top team in the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo. The engineers are there to congratulate a real star find in the championship this year. You go back through the results in his GP3 career, and he was there or thereabouts, but he really has shone against people with a great pedigree in these sorts of cars, and the likes of Patrick Niederhauser, impressive pedigrees from elsewhere. Sergio Campana, another one, for example. But Koyala just straight on the money straight away. There's the damage to Neil Huggins' car from when he tapped Amir Krenzia into a spin early in the race, but the Brit comes home for, in the end, second in class, ahead of Jan van Uytzel. So Patrick Kujala promised OJ he was going to be the race winner, and he has come good for you, OJ, down in the pits.
Patrick, I spoke to you on the second row of the grid. Of all your wins this season, 7 in total, is this the most satisfying?
Apart from the Paul Ricard one, I would say yes, one of the hardest one, and yeah, very happy with the result.
It was a tough race. I mean, you did start on the second row. I think there was a problem with your brakes at one point as well. At what point do you know this race is yours? Is it just confidence from the start?
I think when Liberati jumped in the car, he had a problem having the exit of the pit lane. As soon as I saw he had a problem, I knew that the rest of the guys were behind me, so I could have a possibility to win. But still, I needed to keep my head cold and maintain a consistent car.
And what about the brake fire then? From where you were in the cockpit, how worrying was that?
Quite worrying, yes. Of course, I knew that we have here is a very demanding circuit with the brakes. But yeah, everything worked well, so very happy.
We saw one of your mechanics trying to start the fire extinguisher off. Did you just think, right, I'm going, I'll put it out on the way?
No, but just, yeah, like I said, crossing my fingers that everything will happen well, and that's what happened, so I'm happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Patrick Kujala heads for the podium. He knows exactly where to go these days for podiums because he's got a gold card with them virtually. And so he's heading in that direction. Everybody else busy celebrating. We might be able to have other drivers in a moment, but Patrick Kujala is podium bound. There is Shota Abkazava, just caught a glimpse of him to the left of the screen. There are 4 podia for this, 4 podium ceremonies. The pros, the pro-ams, the AMs, the amateur gallardos, and it'll all be conducted in a few moments, I think, to the soundtrack of more GT cars, because the pre-qualifying session for the Blancpain Endurance Series will be getting underway imminently as the drivers walk through race control. And let's confirm the way they came across the line, because Patrick Kujala was the winner after 25 laps of the race, ahead of Daniel Zampieri and Roman Mavronov. Third, Alberto Di Folco. Fourth, Sergio Campana and Fabrizio Crestani. Then he's at Tutumlu and Jesse Antler, a good solid result ahead of Shinya Michimi and Kai Cozzolino. Simone Pellegrinelli, 7th to win his class ahead of the Ecuadorian Sebastian Merchan. 9th, despite being battered around early doors, Alberto Cerqui and Giacomo Barri ahead of Adrian Amstutz. Spinelli and Valente after the drive-through bagged 11th, and Milos Pavlovic right at the very end, 12th, sharing with Roberto Pampanini. 13th, losing out at the very end, was Calvin Snurks in Mikko Eskelinen's car. Class winners, Mikhail Spidoronov and Roberto Silva, ahead of Shota Abkazava. Raffaele Giannanoni dropped away in Gerhard Travas's car at the end. Cedric Lima and Laurent Yenny were 17th ahead of Jaap Bartels and Jacopo Faccioni. Matteo Tullio 19th ahead of Christoph Lenz, and then Anders Josefsson and Ricardo Vera were class winners ahead of Neil Huggins, and then Jan van Uytzel on his own. Ignore Ralph Lerkels, he's not here this weekend. They were 3rd in the amateur Gallardo class ahead of Carina Lima and Andrea Palma. Others, though, didn't have quite such a good run. Jürgen Krebs down in 25th. The Montez ended up in the gravel. Ivan Benvenuti was 27th. Tim Richards had been off the road. Big dramas for Markin Icon, whose car was constantly in and out of the pits. The race-leading Patrick Niederhauser car broke when Liberati took it over. That was a retirement as well. Massive frustration. And so, as the cars for the Blancpain Endurance Series are on the pit apron, and the Lamborghini teams crowd at the bottom of the podium, any moment we should be able to get the first of the multitudinous podiums underway. Cameras click, drivers are marshalled into position, and in a moment they will step forward, ready for the presentations. So we should be able to start with the pro drivers. There is Patrick Kujala in the middle, who will make his way in a moment out to the top step, but with so many drivers, it takes a little bit of orchestrating. So cameras head out first, and the grey clouds are getting ever more menacing, aren't they? Ready for GT pre-qualifying. And the qualifying session, just to look ahead incidentally for Blancpain, is tomorrow morning at 8:30. So depending on what the weather does tomorrow, if it's really wet and foggy, it could be that times are taken from pre-qualifying. So it's going to be very important for the teams to get out on track any moment now. And the cars will give this wonderful backdrop of acoustics, I'm sure, in a few minutes, once the drivers for Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo make their way out on track onto the podium, with Alberto Di Falco then for his third place in the Pro Cup, as well as third overall, onto the podium. For his second place, it is going to be Roman Mavronov, with the great help yet again of Daniel Zampieri. But Patrick Koyala is the man for the top step of the podium, the Flying Finn, victorious once more. So Patrick Koyala then, with the playing of the Finnish national anthem, makes sure the flag is right, puts his cap back on, and in a moment will receive yet another winner's trophy. Stefan Winkelmann, the president and CEO of Automobili Lamborghini, steps forward first of all to give a bronze trophy to Alberto Di Falco, whose pace has certainly come on over the course of the season. There are two trophies, two silvers for Roman Mavronov and for Daniel Zampieri, but of course the gold trophy will go the way of Patrick Koyala, making a habit of collecting these. And another job well done, edging ever closer to a championship win. 3 races to go, 1 tomorrow, then 2 in America at Sebring before the end of the year. And Patrick Koyala gets yet another Blancpain clock to add to the wall. He just keeps on collecting them. So the top 3 drivers from the pro category receive their trophies, and then there is the Pirelli winners trophy that Matteo Braga from Pirelli Motorsport hands over as well. Patrick Koyala never goes away from a weekend empty-handed, does he? And so trophies now held. The drivers make their way onto the top step, pose for the photographs. Lamborghini's little crew in the corner, and the photographs are now done. And so there is the champagne to be sprayed, and then potentially a swift turnaround ready for Pro-Am. Patrick Koyala then with a 7th win of the year. Alberto Di Falco has had a victory as well over the course of the season. So too Daniel Zampieri and Roman Mavronov. So the only winners out of the pro class, all there on the podium. But it's not the most energetic of champagne sprays, is it? The one that comes off worst is poor old Alberto Di Falco, but for the Bonaldi team, Patrick Koyala takes the victory, and now they collect all of their trophies and make their way off to the pit road, back to the teams. The Lamborghini officials step forward and dress the podium accordingly, with the champagne and with the trophies readied in the background for the Pro-Am victors, where 3rd place goes the way of Adrian Amstutz for the Conrad team, where 2nd place goes to Sebastian Merchan, and where a class win goes for the 2nd time this year to Simone Pellegrinelli. A win for the Imperiale Racing car of Simone Pellegrinelli, his 2nd of the year, and another mighty effort. The trophy is now brought forward. The bronze trophy to Adrian Amstutz, new to the championship this year, but Adrian Amstutz, somebody who's done a very good job adapting to these cars, and Adrian receiving his trophy. He's had 2 wins, third today. Second place goes the way then in class of Sebastian Merchant, returning to the series, and Simone Pellegrinelli it is who takes the class victory. And when their photographs are all done, there is the champagne for them. But there's first of all the Pirelli trophy to Pellegrinelli. Remember, his season started badly. Race 1, Monza, lap 1, accident, destroyed car. But he's bounced back in every sense from that, and is now once again proving how competitive he is on the back of a class win in the championship last year when he sewed up the AM category. And the champagne to be sprayed, but Simone Pellegrinelli taking a second victory of the season is a very happy man indeed. One more race in Europe, that's tomorrow, 2 in America to decide the championship. And Pellegrinelli's successes here have brought him back into the equation, no doubt about that. Adrian Amstutz, the Swiss driver, walks away from the podium as it is now made ready for the AM drivers, where in a moment they will make their way out for the 3rd place. A good debut in the championship for Jaap Bartels, the Dutch Radical European Masters. A similar concept of mini enduro races, but a different type of car altogether this weekend for him, as Jaap Bartels and Jacopo Faccioni step forward onto the podium. There is Shota Abkazava, the Georgian driver, circuit owner, race series promoter, driver, you name it. And the class winners head to the podium as well, namely Mikhail Spidoronov and Roberto Silva. So, national anthems rather drowned out by GT cars in the background, but the trophy presentation's about to be made as the 3rd place drivers receive the trophy, namely Jaap Bartels and Jacopo Faccioni. Jaap Bartels, you get the feeling, has enjoyed himself. He's all smiles. Shota Abkazava takes 2nd place. And for a class win, the top step of the podium to the delighted combination of Mikhail Spidoronov and Roberto Silva, who we haven't seen much of in the championship this year, but it's not silver, it's gold. The Pirelli trophy as well. And the drivers then all huddled together for the photographs. Pirelli, a big supporter of the championship, of course, but so too Blancpain. And it fits perfectly to the watcher's brand, this. And it's been an energetic supporter of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo for the last few seasons. Right, as they are supposedly gentlemen, do they spray the champagne, or are they going to keep it for the party tonight? They're not that gentlemanly, so it's going to be sprayed. And Shota Abkazava on the far side of the podium, on the far left as you look, is the first one to start to drench everybody down below. And a very happy Roberto Silva and Mikhail Spidoronov with him. And they will make their way off the podium in a moment. Mikhail Spidoronov is the shorter of the two. With the Pirelli trophy is Roberto Silva. And as the AMs make their way off the podium, the rain starts to fall. And the Gallardo drivers get themselves ready for their podium, which might be done fairly briskly now because it's suddenly become jolly wet. And so for 3rd place, Jan van Uytsel heads onto the podium. For 2nd position, it is the British driver Neil Huggins. And the top step goes to Andres Josefsson and Ricardo Vera, the Peruvian driver. And so as the rain falls, the drivers are on the podium. And this, I tell you, is very heavy rain that they're now having to stand in. And the winning drivers on the podium as we congratulate the AMs at the end of another Patrick Kayala win in Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo. From David Anderson and OJ Borg, bye for now. So Hugo de Silva from Blancpain steps forward to hand over the trophy, and nobody hanging around for this one because they're all getting absolutely soaked. Never mind champagne to get you saturated. All the cars that had gone out on track are all pouring back in, which is why the pit lane klaxon is constantly sounding in the background because it's become so wet that they need to change tyres. So the drivers on the podium, trophies in hand, get together for photographs. Do you really want spraying the champagne, they ask? And so Neil Huggins nearest to us with the silver trophy. Makes good his escape. Yes, we're not standing around in this, they all say. We're off. So another lively race in Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo. And as the drivers make their way from the podium, so have a look at some of the highlights. It started in very different conditions, always sunny, as the cars blasted away from the line. Giacomo Barri was the man who made a very good getaway, 4 wide down towards the first corner, but having got the lead, what Giacomo Barri couldn't do was get the car slowed down, so off he went, straight on. Others wriggled their way past him. Patrick Niederhauser and Alberto De Falco in the 2 gold Raton racing cars came out of the Mercedes arena first and second. And Niederhauser then started to build the advantage as they were all smiles from the pit lane. Lower down, Patrick Kayala tried to make some progress. He got himself up the inside of Sergio Campana, picked off another spot, and then proceeded to hunt down the leaders. Jürgen Krebs had early race dramas, and Roman Mavlanov was a driver getting involved with Giacomo Barri. The two of them ran together as they worked their way up towards the chicane, where Mavlanov gave Barri a big squeeze right into the pit lane. That allowed Harold Schlegelmann a brief chance to get involved in the battle. He crept up on the inside, and then Kai Cozzolino made a move against Giacomo Barri at the bottom of the hill. More damage done to number 6. And then Isaac Tutumlu wriggled his way past as well. Neil Huggins got himself involved with Amir Krenzia, turned Krenzia's Conrad run car around, but the Top Cats one escaped. Huggins on target for second in his class post-race. It meant the retirement of Krenzia, as his car headed for the pit lane with damage and a retirement. More drama for Giacomo Barri as he was shovelled out of the way by what looked like Cozzolino once again. De Falco was under attack from Loris Spinelli, and he ran wide off the road. For the pit stops, it was the number 9 car of Patrick Niederhauser that led into the pits. He was replaced by Edoardo Liberati as a brake fire for Patrick Kayala was easily sorted out as he blasted back into the pit lane. But this was the moment that it all started to go wrong for Niederhauser, because the car broke on exit, and that meant that Liberati coasted round back into the pit lane and, of course, therefore into retirement. Daniel Zampieri got himself up past Alberto De Falco. That was for second place. But there was nothing that he could do about Patrick Kayala, who came through for a 7th victory of the season. Patrick Kayala through for honours in another highly successful outing as the battles raged on right to the last corner. Milos Pavlovic muscling his way up the inside of Kelvin Snooks. Another cracking round of the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo. We'll see you tomorrow for more.